And then, yeah,
Cyclone
Q is
is
just
the
Cyclone, of course, yeah. I'm not going to make the reference you want me to, because that would be far too niche. We'll move back from that. That will have to remain a mystery. Maybe someone can DM me after to find out what that reference was, and you won't know it. It's great.
That is one of the problems about being brothers. Well,
it is very true.
Half the things that we could say are probably just nonsense.
Very specific reference to like 2010 meme culture. Yeah.
Just looking at the summoner spells, because we have this immediately and we have some time to talk about. We might get some level 1 stuff with the Rel. There's possibility for that. Looks like we're spared that for now though. That's an exhaust on the Zilean, obviously.
Smite, yeah.
So you don't need a smite to do roaming top, just don't stay in lane kind of strategy. What you want to be doing on the Zilean is kind of collecting minimal XP, getting some farm where you can, but then just impacting the rest of the map. Now, I don't like these kinds of compositions without a hyper carry. Jhin is not going to be your hyper carry. No. This game is therefore effectively all on M&S's back. You gotta get monster shockwaves, doing that with so much around the side, flanking potential from the Wukong, the Rek'Sai, and the mobility of everyone else. It's actually a pretty rough draft for JJXL for the first time maybe in this split.
I mean, of all players to do it though, I feel like M&S has got to be probably the best guy in the mid lane you can ask to do it. I mean, I went looking for some stats for this guy.
Okay, tell me the stats.
And I basically ran around and went, that's a great strat, that's a great stat. I had to go down like the entire list because he's got great stats everywhere. He is #1 in KDA for mid lane at 7.5. Most kills of any mid lane at 8.3, with the lowest deaths at 2 an average a game, which is crazy considering he's got 23 solo kills, aka 2.5 solo kills a game on average. Normally, if you're going for those kind of plays, you're normally trading back every now and then. No, he's just getting clean murders and getting away with it all the time. I could go on, and I might do later, but the man is a monster.
When we have to visually reinforce it, we'll see what happens. So Eminence actually starting with the E there to try and weather some of the hard trades that you can have from LeBlanc with a Corrupting Potion very early on, but Eminence hasn't popped that himself. Kryze is just getting some bomb poke. That's actually a pretty good level 1 series of trades. I mean, considering Wukong wants to get right on top of your level 1 with the E, getting the attack speed bonus, that is not normally a lane which I would consider good for a Zilean. Not that I would know much about Zilean top's laning performances. Either way, Kryze getting a good amount of damage in. That's actually seriously obnoxious.
It isn't. We were kind of trying to theorize a little bit. Well, what on earth is a Zilean versus Wukong top lane matchup like? Because unsurprisingly, it's not that common. What I will say is obviously the Zilean is farming. That's important to know. It's not roaming as it stands. And 2, Wukong's passive is often about, withstanding AD threats. He's got like I think it's Stone Skin, something like that. That's the passive. And that isn't really coming into play here because it's the range versus melee matchup. And you've got the exhaust if Wukong goes for the all-in.
Okay, well, Dan has come up top side. There's a flash. There's no clone.
Yeah, Warrior Trickster looks like he's in trouble. Where's the bomb? Final auto does it. And it is Volibear that secures that with the red buff burn. First blood to JDXL.
So much of that comes from the early trading from Kryze. Rocking out with his clock out. Elif hits the ground 0-1 on the Wukong. And this is now when you start to really worry about Dusty, because this Wukong, I expected to have so much
never mind that.
On the map, and Kickers is the one that's caught on the other side.
Okay, Viking with early ganks bot going in, tries to get it, but the flash W is a block by Zamalek flashing in trades. And they do get the return kill on bot side, and Zamalek even bones the additional summoner.
Oh, that is such heartbreak, because I thought he was dead halfway through that gank. I'd imagine that Dusty thought that too. Very, very quick on the instincts, though, to say actually halfway through, yeah, we can get out. Just the flash at the end of it, which did not register through the body block that. But yeah, this is extended lane. Wukong's too far up. Slows from Zilean. Very, very obnoxious when you are trying to take a more of an extended path out of a confrontation. Kill over to Dan early as well. We've actually seen a lot of Volibears across various regions, but particularly in the NLC as well, not actually achieve much that early. It's good to see a change of the story this time around.
Absolutely, and it's a good start for Venza as well, who's been under a little bit of a microscope for Dusty at points, because when Dusty have been losing, it's often Venza who's been the brunt of the deaths with some of those kills. Irresponsible with the lead has been a lot of term we've used a fair amount, where there was a great Jinx game where he got quite far ahead off some early plays and couldn't make it happen. Instead, we're going to see a gank onto M&S, who does have Viking coming through, but they won't continue to chase on to
just a couple of love taps there, not really able to get onto M&S's positioning is fairly clean. Suffering a little bit in the early early lane, but keeping up okay in CS, trading back okay, and also, again, just not showing that opening for the Rek'Sai to get the most of things. And Backlund still taking some trades on the negative end of that too. Effectively, M&S's job is to survive at this point. It's not like some previous iterations of the Orianna where you could have so much kill pressure the other way. Orianna, rather, the LeBlanc has some very good runes and some very good ability to just keep themselves in lane at this current meta. But, you know, let's go back to Venza very quickly as they're on the screen at this point. As much as Venza has been, I would say, irresponsible with leads, where he has a lot of DPM, gets involved in fighting, but dies so much too. What better champion to be on than Kai'Sa, whose job is to be hyper-aggressive, thread the eye of the needle, and get into that backline? We do see that Kryze actually has to play the flash on the side, as we were busy waxing lyrical about the bot side of the map. But Kryze still able to get back towards that turret. I don't think it matters that the Zilean gets down and farm. I think they're still being useful. Hasn't lost a turret plate yet, and they're still in the game.
Yeah, and can still collect a lot this wave. So we'll be down about 5 or so CS, something like that, half a wave, I imagine, because of where he plays.
Staying under turret is actually quite.
It's really hard. He has incredibly poor auto attacks. Indeed, it's yeah, like it's just like throwing those, like, you know, the clock, you know, the keys used to wind clock. It's like throwing those at people. It just doesn't really work. It's like, well, what's that supposed to do? Like irritate me?
I mean, you saw in level 1. What's very irritating?
Yeah. That's not a key. That's like a literal time bomb.
I actually love what M&S just did there, by the way, because normally taking that path into river is actually super vulnerable. But he knows that Dan's there. Knows that they have the flash. Backlund had gone for a heavier trade. Potentially could have been turned around with the shockwave. It's the small things. It's the schmovement which he shows there.
Some good clicks.
Some good clips as Sam gets clicked multiple times by Venza and by the W, which means that the passive comes around. But speaking of that, M&S out of mana. Viking has a flash, potentially dangerous.
Could think about it. There's Backlund stepping forward to see whether we can get on top of this Orianna. Flash forward to make sure the chains will land. Flash away, still going to get rooted. There's the shockwave, a lot of damage back. Now M&S needs to see whether he can find his way out, and we'll be able to do so with the Blast Comb. Dusty will now look for the red buff. Invade, but the mid lane of JDXL does stay alive.
So, bit of an ego check for it. I was like, I'll dodge the chain to be fine. But Backlund with the early flash knows that will connect. I mean, if you do stay within that range, of course, it's very dangerous at that point. But M&S, once again, kind of very heads-up play to know that the Rek'Sai very much within flash range if the tether had landed without using their own summoner. M&S gets out, and if that objective has been to survive in the early game, after a couple of attempts, still looking good.
Looking very happy as it stands there. He's still skiing up him. CS will get back to lane to not lose too much more. Dan, of course, got the early dragon as well, and then roam top to help get his top laner shoved out. And that allowed an easier reset for the Zilean. There we go, forgot the name. Call him Zictor, which is not a name.
Look, I know we haven't...
And I know, obviously, you're next to me, and there's a lot of memes going around right now, but that's... Does that maybe, like, I don't know... Like, I'm trying to think of a way to put my name in a J. It doesn't really work. J-Sam. There you go. That'll have to do. Unless someone come up with a better name, we'll deal with that.
We have Silkard Sharom, Professor Heimerborg,
Professor
Victor, J-Sam.
Yeah.
Look, it's a work in progress.
We'll work it out.
We'll get your face onto a splash shot. It won't matter how we say it.
Yeah, exactly that.
It's all on the visuals.
I do play Jace, just very badly. So don't
say that about a great many champions, actually. Ari first and foremost. Right, we've got a Herald Fire. Level 6 hit by Viking. Watch out for that assassination potential, but no one particularly at low HP as it comes into it. No, level 6 is on
the kick here. Some Zilean's not close enough to get the Chrono Shift coming through, but look at the massive curtain call coming through. Viking still managed to get the execute, but it's a 1-for-1 right now. Jungler traded even after the Void Assaults come through. Deadly Flourish did come out. Dan secured the Herald. Shockwave onto 2. FGG trying to escape. It's a double for Zamalek, who said he couldn't be a hyper carry. That's another kill onto Kryze. Backlund now running away with a bomb on his head. It's a ticking time bomb. And the clone actually is the one that falls there. I apologize. He's still been run under the tower. Does have a distortion. Will be able to escape out of there. So I got bamboozled by LeBlanc's passive ability.
Backlund does manage to get out with some fancy moves, some smokes, some mirrors, but doesn't come out with any of their teammates. So let's see how this all transcends. It comes down. FGG is the one to start off proceedings, gets in there. None of these supports have the ultimate, of course. Doesn't have the ability to keep everyone in place with the Magnet Storm. And as much as getting Soraka off the board is all well and good, I mean, you've had 0 damage onto Zamalek, who gets very involved very early. You have 0 damage onto M&S, who also gets a 2-man ultimate through that. And you don't even have your Kai'Sa, who does have the ult to get themselves into the fray. It's just JDXL turning up at the right time, using the numbers advantage, and using their power spikes well.
Yeah, Backlund, as you saw, did get out. did, of course, still come very heavily. JDXL favorably went 3 for 1 in that play, I believe, which was very, very good. You get 2 kills onto Zamalek. You've got an additional kill onto Kryze. M&S gets 3 assists. JDXL and early jungle control, early skirmishing prowess, looking pretty good here, even if Dusty have made some aggressive moves around the mid and bot lane. They've just not come out to all that much, and it's JDXL with the slight gold lead as it stands right here. And Dusty have got the comp, I feel, that spikes earlier and wants things happening earlier.
So yes, I mean, there's always going to be the miracle team fight of Wukong finding enough people, of Rel finding enough people. But actually, if you have the Zilean at the right place and they're not caught in, you can save the Orianna, you can save the Jhin. That's fine. You turn around with a big ultimate after that point. This is going to have to be finely orchestrated for Dusty to find themselves mid-game advantages, which they're really aiming for. You're right, they do spike early. Level 6 is obviously a big point for them, but they haven't achieved much in the mid-jungle 2v2. M&S and Dan able to survive that area of the map, spread that pressure out into the 5v5s and then into the side lanes too, in the case of the Volibear too. But now we're looking at Dusty to up the ante once more, because you're right, if they do fall behind the curve anymore, you struggle to find a way for them to get back into it.
Now to see, of course, whether Venza, who has still managed to get themselves a pretty solid lead in that bot side, doing very well, has gone towards what's looking to be a Muramana build at some point in here with the tier stacking up as well, can make things happen for this team. Vikings still obviously on his favored Rek'Sai. You've got Backlund on a LeBlanc, a comfortable pick for him. They're not out of this game as yet at all. Aleph on this Wukong as well can still cause chaos even with the double enchanter. It's just a matter, I feel, of stabilizing and not letting JDXL get to the point where the double enchanter plus all the damage that Zamalek and M&S can do gets really obnoxious in the late game.
Yeah, that's a swing and a miss twice from Kryze as near those bombs hit. But you can see how annoying it is when Aleph isn't in a position to all in. Those slows become so very annoying. So Dan hovering mid once again, and I've been really impressed again of how M&S has managed to get the most out of the Orianna's laning phase without actually being exposed. It can be very difficult at that point. So actually just understanding when they're in a point of danger. Is Backlund actually going to be able to deny the cannon? Not even that. Shield comes on from the E, and then suddenly, after the distort's down, M&S understands it's time to move back up.
Got to call it out as well. Venza has been playing since 2018, and Kai'Sa is by far his most played champion. It's his most comfortable champion.
I mean, if you didn't know that from his playstyle,
exactly that. But this is
I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
This is the champion he is so preferred over the career. He's got 35 games on this champion, 25 and 10 all time. This will be his 36th game of it, and it's a game he's comfortable on. But right now he's down to 20% HP. Gets hit there by the old flash for the last auto. Maybe won't quite get it. The exhaust through the heal as well. He does get the kill, but now FGG over on to Zamalek with the Magnet Storm afterwards will secure a shutdown.
Oh, FGG at least managed to turn something around. Aleph, very low HP, does have the flash, might be forced to use it, and M&S chained up in the mid lane.
There's a shockwave afterwards, but of course Backlund did have the distortion to get their way out of trouble, and it's just the clone that's junked. Backlund's still going to have to be forced back from this wave, though. Right?
As much as that is kind of like, it's a quote-unquote whiffed ultimate, it does mean that Backlund can't stick around for another instance of damage, means that the Rek'Sai not in a position to follow up for any sort of kill either. M&S has yet to be unrooted from this mid lane. It's not the flashy 1v1s. Might have to see them coming on later if he wants to try and keep up with his on-record pace. Dan now pushing further into the jungle. But this time he doesn't have a mid lane to back him up.
Yeah, there's going to be 2 people for JDXL rather trying to run away from 4 of Dusty, but they do manage to escape. There is another dragon on the field. Now we're going to see this replay of what earth happened to get Venza so low, and then the outplay that happens nearly at the end.
Zamalek gets towards that 4th shot, goes back in again, and I mean, Zamalek is all... We know Zamalek does that. He always goes for the 1v1s and the AD carries. Now, Venza uses that auto-attack reset on the Kai'Sa ult when you put it that short distance, gets that shield. I think thinks that they have the heal instead of the cleanse. They pop that through it. At least it ends up being a 1-for-1, but this is kind of becoming a Zamalek classic at this point.
And he does, in fairness, get the kill, and it is FGG who gets the return. He gets the shutdown as well, so I think you feel pretty happy as far as Zamalek. Yes. It also costs Kai'Sa the half-arm.
Big brave move. Give the shutdown to someone who doesn't really want the gold.
Exactly that. See, it's all genius as Kikis is now in mid lane, trying to be as obnoxious as possible. He's going to get knocked up by a Prowler's Claw. There's the Void Assault afterwards, and it's a very dead Soraka.
Not sure I agree with that one. Chain's tethered in there. You know you're probably going down. Just a bit of a wasted summoner. Well, that's going to be a return fight from the side of JDXL.
FGG does go down to M&S. The curtain call is out, and that will make it a 1-for-1. Both supports getting picked at various points around this mid lane.
Another solo kill for... Okay, it's not quite a solo kill. But M&S gets himself onto the kill board once again, 2-0-3. And Dusty as much as that was a good pick at the first part, as soon as you see the dragon go down and you know that the Volibear is in that point of power, you probably need to approach that a little more carefully. You don't have the Wukong to really start breaking up proceedings too. Wukong, hell, has had to go for Gore Drinker over Divine Sundra. Doesn't even have the same degree of crazy like burst potential. Really struggling to actually get these bigger fights going their direction of Dusty. They managed to find some picks, but anything involving large amounts of members has surely not gone their way. As we said, going back to that pick there, I mean, it's just the mobility difference coming in from Dusty's champions, and the Soraka goes down for that much of a fight.
Does get taken. Of course, down was on the Dragon at the time, so that then cost FGG because the Volibear was around and able to pounce, and they're going to take out a Herald here as well. It's the neutral objectives that are, as per usual, going in JDXL's favor. They're up about 2,000 gold, and M&S currently 2-0-3, though without a solo kill for once in a game.
Crazy, I know, right? But I think it was last game day, so back on Monday, where we kind of touched on some of JDXL stats. Might have been actually last week, trying to remember exactly when we did it. But they have incredibly high first tower, incredibly high first dragon, herald. You know, I think it's first herald and baron are the ones which they tend to go towards the most. They might get themselves the first kill of this fight. Sven's is stunned up.
He's cleansed. He's going to get to the blast cone. Does not quite get stunned down. That 4-shot won't quite do it. M&S looking for the final auto. Just gets it with a command attack.
M&S not being able to achieve the solo part of that. 3-0-3 though, got the symmetry. There's a Herald in here too. Without the Kai'Sa, JDXL might be dealing almost a death blow to this game, only 16 minutes in. This is going to be such a hard push for Dusty to retreat, to kind of stabilize after this point. They've lost themselves the AD carry. They're no longer farming. They've lost themselves presence in structures on the mid lane. Dad is going to get chained up, doesn't have flash. This could be an important pick for them.
Could be, but he's still pretty fast. Got the Thundering Smash. I believe he'll have maxed that ability by the looks of it. And also got to point out that Dusty did actually get first tower down on the bot side. They did have Backland and Viking get a hold of that, but all the while, JDXL used that Herald mid, got a hold of that. They're now moving towards his top lane, which is also still pretty low. Backland is here, but I don't know whether he wants to be. He's got to be a little afraid of the mid jungle that's waiting around for him.
Doesn't have the Mimic. Oh, that's
a shockwave, and he's just going to go straight down. There's no way out for the man. Dan picks that one up, and the mid-jungle bait gets their prize.
Oh, and you called that out really well. Of course, used the Distort on the wave, didn't have the Mimic. Cooldowns have been counted. We're not in a casino. We're allowed to do the old card counting technique here. And Backland is the loser of this particular pot.
Yeah, he doesn't. I believe card counting's allowed, just frowned upon and gets you in trouble. So don't do it. You'll get yourself in trouble. But, you know, apparently,
okay, Backland
strictly,
is frowning from the death chamber. You can tell that
he's
one is
frowning. How dare you count my ability
angry
cooldowns?
Expression on his face.
Counting cooldowns. How dare you? Written in chat. Can you do it Doomby style, though, mid-fight? That's the real question. It's not going to be the pick in the mid lane, though. They don't quite get a hold of that one, though. I appreciate the attempt. And the gold lead up to 3,000. The kills are in the right place. It's on your jungler, and then most of them is on your AD and onto your mid laner. Orianna and Jhin, very happy in this game. You can see it in the gold as well. Hefty gold lead for M&S, even if it's Venza who's staying relatively even with Zamalek as it stands.
When we're using this as context, I want to actually just quickly return to something I said just a while ago, just saying, wow, this feels like a death blow in that mid lane push with the Kai'Sa going down, another tower going down, because this is not like the last game where you can kind of see some parity in scaling in some ways. You were absolutely right to call it out earlier that Dusty do spike on a couple of items. They don't realistically want to go into 5v5s anything less than a KO2 advantage, and of course that has been flipped on them. FGG looking for something, but he's just caught.
Oh, it's just so much pick CC. That's the damage. That's going to be just dead, surely, for FGG. But then Backland going in, but he's been exhausted. There's double exhaust from him, but even the burst that JDXL has, or rather that Dusty have, isn't that great, as Unstop goes down, who's brought forth the storm. It's a stun onto Venti, who tries to use the ult, but has to flash away from the shockwave. But look at Backland, who's flashing over the wall to try and survive. It's the clone that forces Amalek's auto, and the LeBlanc needs to try and find a way out of this. Surely will do. Nobody dies, but it's Dusty running away with blinking health bars on most members.
Okay, Viking trying to find his way out, has to flash over, doesn't have the E cooldown. So once again, it's Dusty not losing members, but not being able to find any sort of optimal, aggressive path into that fight. Most of the start of that fight was JDXL using regular abilities to catch out FGG, who barely escapes their life. They're giving over Soul Point. They're giving over control of the bot side too by losing a tower down there after they took first tower even themselves. JDXL choking out this game. We know this is a team that does that, but this is showing no mercy to Dusty.
And it is a ruthless combo that we've seen from JDXL. They have drafted this Volibear, Jhin, Zilean combo before. They did it in week 3. They did it against Vanir. And of course, it was the Zilean for Kikis at that point, which is what has had us thinking. But the point was that basically, you speed up Volibear, who runs at Mach 5 with his Q active, and then Jhin can follow up, and there is nobody on the side of Dusty who wants to tank that combo up.
Into the fight, starting off things.
They're going to try and continue this one. That's Dust. That's Venza, who's landed a decent Void Seeker there to see whether some damage is M&S. Going to try and kill Viking. The shield just about keeps him alive, and Airy won't kill them.
And that would have probably been a solo kill.
I think it might have been.
So, barely escaping with their life. Viking forced to reset. And every time this happens, you're seeing jungle camps go down. You're seeing waves being missed on a lane because Dusty are the ones who might not lose anyone, but they're bearing the brunt of the HP disadvantages. JDXL get to choose their resets a bit more opportunistically. They get to choose everything. JDXL find the micro advantages yet again.
And the thing we didn't get to talk about, because it happened so fast, was the fact that after all those blinking health bars came down, JDXL, well, we've got mid lane, we'll rotate, get Infernal Soul point, by the way. That's the addition of everything else that's gone. You might not have got the kills, but you get that huge advantage there.
M&S really feeling it. Levels up, teleport response.
He's going to be out of the range of Aleph, who's trying to get on top of him. He's thrown the Cyclone, he's blown the Flash. He's going to try and get a hold of him. M&S still has the Flash, needs to work out what he's doing a lot of damage back. Might finally get shut down, but there's a heal from Kikis. The ambulance arrives, and M&S gets the kill. Not a solo, though.
Again, 1v2 at the start of it, looking to chase down Backlund. Nukes him out. It's a feel-good moment in a grim game. The darkness of the
Black Rose will be cut down once more. You're going to be pressed and held in JDXL's memory book. It feels like you got a blast going, but I don't think Alcove Gaming is getting you anywhere in this game. Got a time bomb on your head. You take a command attack, a dissonance as well. The clone tanks the tower. Backlund gets stunned, and it's Dan that goes onto the killing spree.
Yeah, I mean, it's a feel-good moment in such a grim, dark game. You are sat there in the top lane, and there is only death in that eventuality for Backlund, trying to get that one out before the play happened, but Backlund decided to extend that one. Yeah, it's going to be down for the eventual Baron Steel. There are 4 members of Dusty alive. I don't think they could contest it with all 5 members. Dusty being propped up by both of these enchanters. Viking looking for the Miracle Steel, and that's about it.
Yeah, in the grim darkness of the top lane tower, there was only a frenzied maul, and they're going to continue going in as Dan.
That's awful. Almost as bad as Venz is feeling after that death.
Wow, he's just so fast. I don't know what to say. Zilean has the power to speed up a Volibear to probably slightly faster than the speed of sound, it seems.
I was about to say that I felt like I saw a sonic boom coming in the wake of that Volibear running down his prey. Backlund back out onto the map. Of course, there was no Baron taken, so that is a consolation, but a small one at that. It's not like Backlund and crew have found anything themselves. He's having to flip back again, uses the Mimic to get out of things. It seems like every time they go for something,
teleporting.
It has been nullified. More chunks coming down. FUG looking for a final hurrah.
Is the Magna Storm to get onto M&S. Remember, there is no stopwatch, but there's still the wish coming through. Zamalek picks that one. Over comes Aleph, but he's been exhausted. Dan stepping up, and there is the Gale Force as well. Aleph so damn low. He's got no Warrior. Trickster is coming out. They're going to try and get M&S, who flashes away. Shutdown comes through, and M&S finally falls, but it comes at a cost. 2 for 1. Backlund's going back in, but he's going over the wall, and he takes a deadly flourish. The Star Call comes down, and it's evil omens in this particular game. There is no way out. The stars were in alignment, this time for JDXL.
And he flips back to the distortion right in front of Zamalek, who hard scope, point blank shoots him down. Gonna go back into a replay for this as again, it's one of these last gasp efforts, because you know that you have to play the broken fights. You want to try and play around the Rek'Sai and Kai'Sa, but funnily enough, they're actually not at this play. You can see how desperate they look at this point, because they know that anything which is a quote-unquote kind of normal fight is probably not going against them. They try and find a fight against the rhythm of the game, and sadly they lose it.
Backlund got rooted there as well, and they're just JDXL so on point. Every play that Dusty made, and I give them credit for trying. They've made a couple of attempts now to get something on the sidelines to use the pick they do have. The problem is the exhausts, the global heal. You've got chrono shifts, you've got so much CC. Like, what do you do to get the damage down without being sort of frozen in place for an eternity?
Well, not that. This might have worked against...
Thank you, Nymera, for your incredible insight.
This might have worked against a lesser team than JDXL, but as we've seen, This is the team which is very, very coordinated. They're understanding of their lane assignments. They know where their pressure points are. We've seen M&S understanding he can take 1v2s, understands the defensive measures they can take as well. Infernal Soul on the table. It's going to be taken down by JDXL without a contest. Dusty looking to, well, they can't even take themselves a Baron, looking for a pick. They don't get that either. They get nothing.
Come hell or high water, JDXL will find themselves a massive amount of jungle control. Appropriate considering they got an Infernal Soul, even if Nightmare mentioned the Ocean. Backlund being stunned in place. Dan's running him down. Jumps straight down with that frenzied maul I called earlier. Cries over the wall. It's a 2v3, a support, a jungler. They're still running the entirety remaining Dusty out of their own jungle. You can see Aelif like retreating, recalling in his own top lane bush. JDXL move right back to the Baron. It's not the fastest Baron you've ever seen, but at this point, there's no one around to stop them.
Dan just ults over the wall to get back into the pit, wants to get themselves right there.
Oh, Lord, there's the solo kill!
For M&S. We waited 25 minutes for it. It's not on the easiest champion to achieve it with. It's more about the team play. M&S still got some of that spark in them, though. 24 solo kills in 10 games. This man is a monster. I believe this is his 10th unique champion as well. I haven't seen him in Orianna yet either. Is there no depth to which this man cannot pull out a new and incredible champion? Apparently, when the next
third item's complete.
I'm looking to see his inevitable one game of Ari to appease the crowd, which is namely me. I mean, JDXL very quickly just closing down that game, and as much as they're having fun with ulting over the wall, they are still eyes on the prize. Get that Baron, Infernal Soul taken. Backlund looking for something, looking for anything. But when your mid lane has been out-leveled by the enemy AD carry, I don't know what to tell you. Game's completely off the handle.
And Dan just running behind the enemy lines here, straight through the blue side jungle. And Viking on that Rexor, just having to back away. There were some good ganks earlier, some good attempts, but it's just felt like JDXL with another one of those clutch pocket drafts that is causing so much chaos. The control, the consistency of this team is feeling so unmatched. Yes, maybe X7 have more explosive early games, but no one is cleaner than JDXL in the mid game, and no one seems to be able to stop them once they get this kind of calculating, crushing, suffocating lead. They're into the base and inhibitors down, and Dusty, if you've got any options, you need to show us now, because FGG is taken down to nearly no HP at all. The shockwave goes wide as a Void Assault comes down. Kikis picks up a kill of all people there as the Viking went in a Hail Mary and was shut down. They're going to need a bigger boat, and they're the one with the damn Void Shark.
Porter for Viking goes in for a Hail Mary. It's a Bloody Mary at the end of this fight.
Killer Instinct coming through from Venta. They're trying to get something. It's not bad, but it's just not enough. There's not enough damage. There's not enough gold. There's not enough way through all the CC. They finally kill the Chronomancer, but it is the mistress of the Black Rose alone that stands to watch her empire fall. JDXL are just too clean. 9-1. Go the Academy team.
Keeping pace at the top of the table. They throw that baton right over to X7.